ਅੱਜ ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੰਬੈਕਟਿੰਗ ਆਟੋ ਥੈਫਟ, ਕਿ ਆਟੋ ਦੇ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਰੋਕਿਆ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਔਰ ਸਰਕਾਰ, ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜੁਰਿਸਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਕੀ ਸਟੈਪਸ ਲੈ ਰਹੀਆਂ, ਬਜਟਸ ਕੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਤੋਂ ਡਿਪਟੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ, ਜਸਟਿਸ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਔਰ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਸੀਗੇ, ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਖਹਿਰਾ ਵੀ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਸਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਔਰ ਬਾਕੀ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਐਂਡ MP ਵੀ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਸੀਗੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਟੋ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਹੈ, ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਣ ਲਈ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਕਦਮ ਚੱਕ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ।
With my colleagues, I'm pleased to unveil our new national action plan on combating auto theft. The plan focuses on 3 areas in distinct federal jurisdiction. Firstly, and my colleague Arif will talk about this, we will introduce new legislative and regulatory changes that will include tougher penalties for auto theft under the Criminal Code and strict regulation of devices that are used in the theft of vehicles. Secondly, we will enhance intelligence and information sharing between governments, law enforcement agencies, and international police and customs officials. This will allow us to identify stolen vehicles more quickly at our ports and at rail yards, including the intermodal terminal here in the city of Brampton, and this obviously before the vehicles can be sent abroad. Thirdly, we will strengthen cooperation between police, border officials, border security officials, and the port, rail, and shipping industries. This will allow more containers to be examined and will include the use of more innovative detection technologies. We're buying, for example, new scanners, leading-edge technologies. We're redeploying other existing scanners to ensure that we have the utmost collaboration between the Canada Border Services Agency and regional, provincial, and of course national police partners as well. I know that for Mayor Brown and for his council and for my colleagues from this area, we've had many conversations about how we can quickly deploy this scanner technology to the intermodal facilities. You can imagine if we can intercept a stolen vehicle here in Brampton, for example, at a rail yard, it's more effective, less expensive, and from a law enforcement perspective, much more efficient than doing that at the Port of Montreal before it's loaded on a ship to be exported. The successful implementation of our plan will require continued collaboration between provincial officials, municipal officials, police partners across the country. And I want to also salute the important work and partnership with the Solicitor General of Ontario, Michael Kersner, with whom I'm in regular conversations in this regard. And obviously Premier Ford and his government are a valuable partner with their police forces, for their municipal partners, and for the Government of Canada. I wanted to acknowledge their partnership and the continued work we do together. It's by working together we'll have the greatest impact, and I know that all of us are deeply committed to ensuring that Canadians understandably feel safe in their communities and in their homes. So I look forward to continuing work with Mayor Brown, with mayors from the Greater Toronto Area, with provincial authorities and police authorities as we continue to strengthen and deepen the work we're doing together.
This is an issue that is touching the lives of far too many Canadians. It's an issue we take incredibly seriously. It's an issue that the federal government is working on closely with all levels of government, that law enforcement at all levels is working on, that we are really committed to acting on. In recent years, we have seen an overwhelming and frankly unacceptable increase in auto theft across the country, and especially right here in Ontario in the GTA. Every single one of us as an MP has heard about this from our constituents, and it is not acceptable. Auto theft hurts Canadians. It creates unnecessary costs by burdening people with higher insurance rates, on top of the stress, the trauma of having your vehicle stolen, of having to replace it. And it makes Canadians feel unsafe in their communities. That is not okay. That is not fair. No one should have to worry about their means of getting to work, school, or the grocery store and having that car stolen from them. And that is why in the budget, we have put in place a robust plan to crack down on auto theft and to protect Canadians, to protect the people here in Brampton. Our Budget Implementation Act includes measures such as providing law enforcement and prosecutors with the tools they need to protect Canadians from having their cars stolen. Specifically, this includes more robust criminal offenses relating to auto theft and new restrictions on the possession and distribution of devices used to steal vehicles. This is about taking the tools away from people who are committing these crimes, making us unsafe.
We're talking about changes that are directly in our government's purview, directly in my purview with respect to the criminal code. We're adding new offenses targeting auto theft and its links to violence and to organized crime. There are new offenses for the possession and distribution of a device used for committing auto theft, such as key programming machines. We're also proposing a new offense that targets the ringleaders of most auto thefts, which is, as I mentioned, organized crime. And the reason why this is attractive to organized criminals is because they can not only sell these vehicles abroad or domestically, but they can actually then use that money for their nefarious purposes. That means you need to attack where the money is going, which means tackling money laundering. We're proposing a new offense that will target those who launder the proceeds of crime at the direction of organized crime or in association with a criminal organization. Those measures will help in the fight not just against organized crime, but terrorist organizations as well. They will allow courts to do things like issue an order to require a person to keep an account open to assist in the investigation of a suspected criminal offense. So that may sound counterintuitive at first blush, but let me walk you through it. Right now, banks often unilaterally close an account when they suspect criminal activity. This can hinder police investigations. We've got the head of the RCMP standing right behind me. We've been in constant touch with folks like the RCMP and police of jurisdiction, and they've told us that their investigations need to follow the money path. That's what we are doing with these targeted changes, by targeting that particular issue. We're also doing more. Courts would be allowed to issue a production order for multiple specified dates through what's called a repeat production order. That would enable law enforcement to require someone to produce specified information to support an investigation into a criminal offense on multiple predetermined dates over a set period of time. Again, that will help law enforcement trace the monetary path. The last thing I will mention is that what this means to me as a father. I'm a father of 2 young boys, and we know that there's been a lot of talk about youngsters being involved in this criminality. But what I think is really critical is thinking about who is directing those youngsters, who's directing that teenager, who's orchestrating and providing the resources for that teenager. The key issue here is targeting the root causes of the criminal behavior. So what we're proposing through this legislation is a new aggravated factor at sentencing. It would be applied to an adult offender who involves a young person in the commission of the crime. Our goal is to get at the root cause of the crime. The root cause is not the actual teenager doing the theft. The root cause is the adult criminal who is leading them or in fact forcing them to do that crime. And lastly, I'll finish where Dominic left off as well, which is that Canadians expect all of us to work together to come up with a real plan to deal with auto thefts. What I'd say to you is that some of these money laundering provisions that I'm talking about are in the current Budget Implementation Act.
This National Action Plan on combating auto theft is about doubling down on our federal efforts to fight criminals, using everything at our disposal to crack down on auto theft, from tougher penalties and better data sharing, to more resources on the ground to open containers and to retrieve stolen vehicles. I think we all recognize that the goal is to make sure that our community members here in Brampton and in the GTA and Canadians from coast to coast to coast can feel safe in their homes, in their streets, and in their neighborhoods. And that's exactly this team right behind you is committed to do, and that's exactly what we're delivering on today.
This is Nitin Chopra from Prime Asia TV, and Justice Minister and Public Safety Minister can answer that. Any announcement towards combating auto theft is a welcoming step by the government. And in last so many years, so much of damage has already been done. And who is accountable for that? And what is the damage? Canadians wanted to see the changes in the criminal code in the last 5 years. They wanted to see the effective bail reforms so that criminals were behind the bars. We had seen recent Highway 401 crash where 1 3-year baby and grandparents, they died, and those suspects were out on the bail. Same things we are seeing now also. Scanners, in the budget is mentioned that over the next 3 to 5 years we'll get the scanners. Why don't we get the scanners in last 3 to 4 years? And loss to Canadian taxpayers is approximately $1 billion every year. If we calculate last 5 years, it's a $5 billion loss, 50,000 of insurance claims, and there's a taxpayer's money. And then we give 15 billion to other countries also. So 20 billion, we could not have improve our healthcare system where emergencies wait time is 5 to 6 hours. Thank you.
So thank you for those questions. There's a lot in there. Let me start with bail reform. So with respect to bail, we've been attentive to this issue, very attentive to this issue. And on bail, we worked very collaboratively with every single provincial government in this country, every single territorial government in this country, as well as law enforcement right around the country. That resulted in a bill called C-48, and we were able to secure passage of that bill this fall, and it's already been given royal assent and come into force. How does that connect to this issue? Things like serious violent repeat offenders now have a reverse onus on bail. So instead of being presumed that they're entitled to bail, it is presumed that they are not entitled to bail, and they have to convince a justice of the peace otherwise. That's significant reform. What I'd say to you here is that on that bail piece, that took about 1 year to get, maybe about 6 to 8 months to get to the point of tabling legislation, and 1 year to get it passed. Now you've got a February auto summit, and we're in May, in 3 months' time, and we're already proposing further surgical amendments to the criminal code. That's very, very important in terms of increasing the maximum penalties. With respect to, I think you finished on healthcare reform, and I think all of these things are not mutually exclusive. And what I would say to you with respect to healthcare reform is that we've heard loudly and clearly from Canadians about healthcare and our health system needs. That's not just a Brampton issue, that's a national issue. But I would also say to you, it's about 15 months ago, we struck a almost $200 billion accord on healthcare with the various provinces and territories around this country, the lion's share of which comes to the most populous province, which is the province we're standing in right now. So we stand shoulder to shoulder with the healthcare needs of Canadians, and I'll allow Dominic to address some of the other points he made. Merci beaucoup.
So, thank you, Arif. Just very quickly, we take the point on the urgency of the scanners. I'm not an expert, and if you want details on the different technologies, I'm sure the CBSA Vice President can provide that information. But we are actively procuring the scanners now, additional scanners. The Minister of Finance added significant investments before the Auto Summit in February, so before the budget. CBSA is doing that. I just said to the Mayor, to Mayor Brown when we met in Ottawa, we're hoping to redeploy existing scanners in the next few weeks. I don't want to pick a particular date in case you can't buy these things on Amazon and just tow them behind in a Ford F-150. I'm told that the larger scanners, you need the Nuclear Safety Commission to give you permission to move them down the 401. So this is a significant undertaking. The good news is we're very much on it, and I'm hoping to be back in this community in the coming weeks to identify examples of those scanners that will be in place very quickly, and more are on the way as quickly as we can possibly procure them.
I just want to say one more thing. So you see a lot of us here today, a lot of federal MPs and ministers, a lot of elected officials from Brampton, from Mississauga. You see some of our senior law enforcement leaders here. We're here on Victoria Day because we take this issue extremely seriously. We know the challenge is real and urgent. And the reality is we have a plan with specific, tough measures. Many of them require actual legislation. They require changes to the laws we have on the books. We have put forward that legislation, and now it needs to be passed. And it can sometimes feel like parliamentary maneuvers that you see in Ottawa are just about political games, and they don't affect, an ordinary person just living their regular life in their community, in a beautiful community like Brampton. But that's not true. We need these measures to be passed, and the games that we see being played at parliamentary committees and in the House of Commons, ongoing endless filibusters that mean it is taking far, far too long for urgent measures like this to be passed, that is hurting the lives of Canadians, and it is the Conservatives who are doing this. So I think everyone here agrees that auto theft is an urgent problem and challenge. I hope everyone in Canada would agree that it is. And, let's put the partisan games aside. Let's give our law enforcement and our border officials the tools, the legislative tools, the physical tools, the money that they need to do the job.
Follow-up is for Deputy PM. Canadians pay highest taxes, and this year alone, we have seen that payroll taxes up, alcohol tax up, carbon taxes there. Then we have the capital gain taxes coming, as mentioned in the budget. And then the scams are there, because another crisis is the housing crisis, which you are tackling, government is tackling. And then we have a mortgage fraud. Simple solution, why can't we link CRA with lenders, as in US, so we can tackle that mortgage fraud issue? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and there's a lot packed in there. And I do want to say, on housing and mortgages, we take the safety and the security of Canadians when it comes to their financial institutions and their banking system extremely seriously. And our government has taken historic, unprecedented steps to strengthen the tools we have when it comes to oversight of financial institutions, when it comes to measures to prevent bad actors, to prevent money laundering. The Minister of Justice spoke about some of those. But to your broader question about affordability, let me just say, our budget is a plan for fairness for every generation. It is a budget that makes historic investments in housing. No federal government has invested in housing as significantly as our government, and that includes major investments in infrastructure that are going to help municipalities like Brampton, are going to help provinces like Ontario to build the infrastructure that we need to get more homes built faster. The budget includes major investments in affordability. Things like a national school food program starting in September, so kids, an additional 400,000 kids across Canada are going to get some healthy food in school so they're not studying hungry. Major investments in dental care. Hundreds of thousands of Canadians are benefiting from this. We are making prescription contraceptives and diabetes medicine free. These are measures that will make life more affordable for all Canadians. And then finally, really significant investments in our economy. Huge investments in the auto sector, and we are seeing that really working with historic foreign direct investment in Canada. Canada per capita last year had the highest level of foreign direct investment in the G7, and that was before the major announcements we have seen already this year. And we're doing all of that in a fiscally responsible way that brings more fairness to our tax system and actually means middle-class Canadians, people working hard to join the middle class, are not going to have an unfair tax system. And what we are asking is for those who are benefiting the most, the people who are the most successful in our amazing country, and it's great that they're successful, asking them to contribute a little bit more so we can make these essential investments in everything from giving law enforcement the tools they need to fight auto theft to helping Mayor Brown build the community infrastructure he needs to build more houses in Brampton. Thanks.
Good news today, hearing that we're going to see increased police collaboration between all levels of government. We can't have law enforcement in silos. But more significantly was having the public safety minister, the deputy prime minister, come here to announce that we're going to be using scanning technology. That's something that we had pushed and fought for. Brampton is going to be getting the first scanning technology in the country. We're hearing before summer, so that is encouraging. This is critical because we need to make sure law enforcement is more sophisticated than organized crime. We need to have the tools to combat organized crime because this has been a flourishing industry. So I'm celebrating today that we've got a new tool to help law enforcement stop organized crime from profiting on the backs of our residents.
ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਸਿਟੀ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਔਨ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਡੇ ਲੌਂਗ ਵੀਕਐਂਡ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੈਪੀ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਡੇ ਜੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆਟੋ ਥੈਫਟ ਦੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਨ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਿਲੀਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਪਲਾਨ ਟੂ ਕੰਬੈਟ ਆਟੋ ਥੈਫਟ। ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਕੋਲੈਬੋਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਹੋਊਗੀ, ਟੈਕਨੋਲੋਜੀ ਵੀ ਹੋਊਗੀ, ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣਾ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਕੋਡ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹੋਰ ਸਟਰੈਂਥਨ ਹੋਊਗਾ to enable the maximum sentences from 10 to 14 years. So this is all about collaboration. ਹੁਣ ਪਿਛਲੇ 4 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ CBSA ਨੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 1200 ਵਹੀਕਲਸ ਸੀਜ਼ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ। ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਾਲ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 2000 ਸੀਗੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ 4 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 1200 ਵਹੀਕਲਸ ਸੀਜ਼ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ। ਸੋ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਜੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨਾਲ, ਸਿਟੀ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ, ਪੀਓ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ $121 million ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ ਆਫ ontario ਨੂੰ for guns, gangs, and auto theft to fight that. And so we hope that that money flows to Pure Police because ਇੱਥੇ ਜੋ ਕੁਛ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਨੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਿਵਾਸੀਆਂ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਦੀ ਹੋਰ ਲੋੜ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਨਵੈਸਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ, ਪਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਾਂਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਆਪਣਾ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਟ੍ਰੈਟਜੀ ਟੂ ਕੰਬੈਟ ਆਟੋ ਥੈਫਟ। ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੋਰਟ ਦੀ ਫੈਸਿਲਿਟੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਸਕੈਨਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਫੈਸਿਲਿਟੀ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਆ ਚੁੱਕੀਆਂ। ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਸਕੈਨਰ ਦੇ ਆਰਡਰ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸਕੈਨਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ CBSA ਰਿਸੋਰਸ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਨਕਰੀਜ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਏਟਿਵ ਟੁਡੇ, ਬਟ ਆਮ ਵੈਰੀ ਹੈਪੀ ਦੈਟ ਵੀਰ ਹੇਅਰ ਇਨ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਅਲੋਂਗ ਵਿਦ ਦ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ। ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਮੇਅਰ ਬਰਾਊਨ, ਸਾਰੇ ਸਿਟੀ ਕਾਉਂਸਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੈਗੀ ਟੈਕਲ ਕਰੂੰਗੇ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ।
ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਡੇ ਤੇ 4 ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ, ਡੈਪਟੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ, Public Safety Minister, Justice Minister and Mr. Khera, and then many MPs ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਮੇਰੀ ਰਾਈਡਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਪਲਾਨ ਕਿ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਟੋ ਥੈਫਟ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਬੈਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ। RCMP ਦੇ ਵੀ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨਰ ਆਏ ਸੀਗੇ, CBSA ਦੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੇ ਵਾਈਸ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਵਾਸ ਹੇਅਰ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਆਨਸਰ ਕੀਤੇ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਾ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਵੀ ਪਹੁੰਚਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਵੈਰੀ ਸੀਰੀਅਸ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਇਨ ਆਵਰ GTA। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ 'ਚ ਨਹੀਂ, ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੀਰੀਅਸ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਬਣਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਆਟੋ ਥੈਫਟ ਦਾ। ਵੀ ਨੀਡ ਆਪਣੇ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਦੀ ਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ, ਕਾਰਾਂ ਥੈਫਟ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿ ਡਰਾਈਵੇ ਤੋਂ ਚੋਰੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ। ਸੋ ਦੈਟ ਇਜ਼ ਵਾਈ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਪਲਾਨ ਲਾਂਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਟਫਰ ਪੈਨਲਟੀਜ਼ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰਸ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਰਿਫ ਰਾਨੀ। ਸੋ we are all ready to combat this issue ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਡਰਾਈਵੇ ਤੇ ਕਾਰਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ। so it's a huge issue in the riding in the GTA. so for combating this issue, that's why launch ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ public plan ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਸਟੈਪਸ ਲਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਸੋ ਵੀ ਆਰ ਆਲ ਵਰਕਿੰਗ ਟੁਗੈਦਰ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਹੋਣ, ਚਾਹੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਲਾ ਇਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਏਜੰਸੀਜ਼ ਹੋਣ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਬਜਟ ਤੋਂ ਈਵਨ ਲਾਂਚ ਹੋਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ $28 million ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਕਿਵੇਂ CBSA ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਅਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਪਲਾਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਆਮ ਵੈਰੀ ਹੋਪਫੁਲ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜਲਦੀ ਆਟੋ ਥੈਫਟ 'ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੰਬੈਟ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਰੈਡੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜਲਦੀ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਾਬੂ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਸਕੇਗਾ।
This is a great day for Brampton and across GTA and for Canada. That today, the announcement, it's a great step forward to tackling auto theft. Auto theft is a #1 issue here in Brampton and GTA. And today we had Deputy Prime Minister, Minister Dominic Lovelong, Minister Virani, where they have announced more scanners, more changes in bail reforms, and RCMP commissioner and all the officials, they were here. So I think it's a great way, great step moving forward to tackle this issue. I'm so glad that there would be a relief towards the safety and to addressing auto theft.